I'm here with Brian Smith from Hillcrest Presby, and he's going to tell us a little bit about a trip that he and some of the congregation members did to Zambia. Hi, Brian.
Sure.
Tell us, Brian, where did you go and how did this trip come about?
So we spent 10 days in Zambia, started in Livingston at the David Livingstone Memorial Presbyterian Church with Reverend Chris Mkandawiri for part of our trip, and then we traveled to Lusaka to the Chilston Presbyterian Church, Reverend Nyarenda, and this trip is just a continuation. I've been going to Zambia for about 20 years now, on and off, and I just went again to see the church in a different context and be with the church in a different country.
Brian, and that's kind of been your goal all along, is just to connect with fellow Presbyterians in different contexts and expose congregation members to various environments. You were telling me that somebody from the church in Zambia is coming to visit your holiday club as well.
That's correct, yes. So the children's ministry person's coming. She'll be here on Friday, and she spent 2 weeks with us seeing our holiday club and seeing other holiday clubs that we've started in our area, because I really believe there's a place for that in their church, and I wanted her to experience it firsthand.
So that's exciting, this backwards and forwards relationship. Now, tell me a little bit about who went on this trip that you did this time. How did that get funded, and how did the whole trip come about?
Yeah, so we were 6 people all in all, myself plus 5 other congregation members. My youth ministry person went, so he's got a particular style and charisma, and so I thought he'd be a good person to have on a trip like this. I've got a person who's doing a church plant in our area. I said, why don't you come along? And then we took 3 folk from our church. I just opened it up to the congregation. I said, who wants to go to Zambia with me? And so we had 6 people. We funded some of the people from our church mission budget, and then some of the people in our church paid their own way. So we said, this is what's going to cost to go to Zambia. We asked the congregation to sponsor other people, and so there was some sponsorship that was raised, and we managed to pay for everybody, all 6 people, to fly to Livingston, to fly to Lusaka, and come back to Durban.
Tell us about some of the things you did there.
Sure. We piggybacked on some of the programs happening in Livingston. We were part of putting up a water tank at a community where a water tank and a solar panel and a pump had been stolen. The church there raised the funds, but we were able to be there to help do the installation. We went on an outreach evangelistic trip where we shared the gospel with a community where the Livingston Presbyterian Church wants to start a church. And then in Lusaka, we visited a school that we visited many, many times in the past, and we just were with congregation members. I love being able to learn about other cultures and see other churches in action in different contexts.
So you weren't staying in hotels or anything like that. You were literally staying with members of the local congregation.
That's correct. And I think that's the best way to understand a culture and learn about a different church environment. And the church was very accommodating in that regard, finding places for us to stay in homes. We were blessed beyond. If there's one thing, I'll give a shout out to the folk from Zambia. They are the most hospitable people that I've ever met, and I've done some traveling in my life.
Brian, what was the impact of the trip? Firstly, on the people who went, and then on the people you visited.
Sure. So we had a young person go. She's 19, and she came back. And her big takeaway was, I am so spoilt. And she was forever changed in that way. We came back seeing children walking to school for 15 kilometers and walking back home after school. And that moved my youth ministry person to say, let's raise money for bicycles for these kids so that they can get to school and back easily. And then on the other side, it's part of what we do is just encourage each other. So we go to Livingston, we go to Lusaka, and we just say, guys, we're also in the same church. We're also struggling in areas. We're also growing in areas. What are you doing? Teach us some of your stuff. This is what we're doing. And so we do a lot of sharing around church and people and the future.
Thank you so much for the time that you spent. And this is part of Going for Growth. And thank you to you and your team for Going for Growth.
Thank you.